What do athletes do after their playing career is over? How do they transition? What's next? What is next for athletes after they transition out of their playing career? Today, I'm so excited to have Jonathan Orr of Athlete Transition Services with us. He will talk about how he services those athletes who are transitioning out of their playing career, transitioning into the career field, transitioning into other careers in the career field. But he is the guru of transition. He will talk to us about the services he provides as he helps athletes all around the world transition into the next step of their life. Hello. I'm Ed Jones II. I am the founder of Beyond the Field Player Development and the host of this podcast. Yes, the Player Development Pod. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Once again, this series is called Why I Love Player Development, and I am so excited to have my guest, Jonathan Orr, on with us today as he will talk to us about how he helps athletes transition. Once again, this series is about the people who help the people in this role. And Jonathan has a great service to provide for you all who are in this role. Also, shout out to Jonathan. We'll talk about it a little bit, but he's a sponsor, a gold sponsor of the Player Development Conference that's coming May 19th through 20th. He's a gold sponsor. We appreciate him for believing in the mission that we have and helping us help those in the role. Speaking of the Player Development Conference, information on the Player Development Conference is in the show notes. Once again, it'll be May 19th, May 20th. It will be virtual. It's the first one. We're so excited. The official logo is here. Look out for that. But if you want more information and if you want to be the first to find out about the registration link, speakers, topics, things like that, join the Player Development Conference mailing list that's in the show notes. Player Development Pod family, thank y'all so much for listening in. This series is Why I Love Player Development. We want to bring people to you, extraordinary people with incredible services to help you all in the role. And today I have my man Jonathan Orr from ATS, Athlete Transition Services. And I'm so excited to jump in and talk about, what the services he provides, the person he is, and just his story and how it built into his company. Before we start that, I want to give a shout out to a gold sponsor of the Player Development Conference. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for believing not only in us and what we want to do, but the people listening. So this is, this brings a greater experience to you all listening. So I want to thank you again for that. I got a round of applause somewhere right here. Let me learn the system. There it is. Yes. Thank you so much. But Jonathan, you can introduce yourself to the Player Development Pod family and let them know more about you.
Yeah, my name is Jonathan Orr. I'm the founder and executive director of Athlete Transition Services. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We just hit 9 years in January, and our mission is essentially to help prepare athletes for life after sports. And so, but let me say thank you, Ed, for allowing us the opportunity to be a sponsor for this awesome conference that's coming up, man. And thank you for all the work that you do in this field. So it's really an honor for us. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you believing. I think you gave me a call the day I announced it. I was like, oh, let's go. I'm so excited. So excited to have you. And you talked a little bit about it, but can you talk about your career? So, you had a illustrious career. Shout out, we see it in the back, on Wisconsin.
What you know about on Wisconsin?
So on Wisconsin, So my first school I coached at, our theme song, our fight song was on Wisconsin. So on really? Wisconsin, yeah, and it was in Houston, Texas. I think our fight song, was on Wisconsin. So yeah.
But they wouldn't say on Wisconsin.
No. It was
okay. That's weird.
Yeah, no, we were the Spartans, so it was go Spartans, we're Spartans, something like that. But it was
gotcha. Okay.
So that was etched in my ringtone. So yeah.
You know what? Hey, have you ever been to a game in Madison?
I have not. That's
we gotta do it, man.
Okay,
you gotta put that on the to-do list.
Yes, I gotta get a part of that jump around. I heard a lot about
it. Yeah, it's a special place. So
nice.
But yeah, man. I grew up in Detroit and fell in love with football since I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I knew that I wanted to play in the NFL since around that age. And from that point on, my whole life pretty much was centered around football. I went on, high school, had some success, and then got a scholarship to the University of Wisconsin where I played receiver. And then after my senior year, got drafted by the Tennessee Titans and was planning on a long career, at least 10, 15, if not 20 years.
Let's go.
But it didn't end up happening that way. And after a couple years, it was over just like that. And even though I had graduated from Wisconsin, had a degree and things like that, I never really intentionally thought out how I would move forward in life after football. And I struggled, man, for a couple years, pretty significantly in the areas of just career, right? In the areas of just my mental health and wellness, identity, just so many things that we know now from working in this space that players and athletes wrestle with. But that was my experience, man, and it took a couple years before I finally started to move forward. But over the course of that time and over the next few years after that, I started noticing that so many of my friends and former teammates and athletes I knew from college, men and women from various sports, were having similar struggles. And then I went to grad school around that time, and then that's when the idea came to start something. I didn't even know what it would be exactly. I just knew I wanted to help athletes figure out this part of their life and help them prepare for it. And here we are now, all these years later, and ATS was really birthed out of that experience. So
awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Now, if you could talk more, you segued into my next question. If you could talk more, if I'm listening, I'm a listener, and I hear Athlete Transition Services, can you give me a deeper dive into what ATS is?
Yes. So, like I mentioned, our mission is to help prepare athletes for life after sports. And so we work backwards. So this is the best way I can explain it. So research, the data out there shows that elite athletes, elite being college and professional athletes, and it's even studies now being done in the high school space, right? But most of the work has been done in the college and professional space. It shows that when athletes transition, an overwhelming majority of them have issues with that transition. And then when you look at the areas in which they have issues, oftentimes it's related to that personal aspect, identity, mental health, social, emotional. It's related to finding career fulfillment, professional athletes, a lot of financial, and even college athletes, a lot of financial issues. And so what we do is we say, okay, if this is the problem when athletes are transitioning, so given that, what we do is we work backwards. We say, if these are the areas that athletes struggle in, then what can we do along the way? So from youth all the way to professional athletes, what can we do along the way to equip them, to prepare them, to empower them, so that whenever that day does come, whenever they're in that transition, they're better prepared and able to handle it. So that's sort of our approach to it. And so practically, like the stuff that we actually do, we do a lot in the educational space. So we have a host of workshops and seminars that deal with those different areas that I just mentioned that we provide, and we tailor to the audience, whether it's high school, college, or professional athletes. So we're in that education space. We also have a team of mental health professionals and coaches, life coaches, to provide individual and small group support for athletes who need a more intense level of support. And then lastly, we provide professional development for coaches and administrators to better help them understand the unique opportunity they have to prepare athletes for life after sports, and empower them and provide them with the tools needed to make sure they're facilitating the holistic growth and development of their athletes along the journey. So
one thing I hear when you talk about it, one thing I like is like the impact you're having on the entire program. So it's not only players, it's also coaches, helping them gain skills to help players. And I think that whenever services, when I was enrolled, I always wanted to look at somebody who could provide value beyond just the, for lack of a better word, auditorium. And so how has that success been? Because I want to talk, because some coaches do listen to this. How has that success been, or how has that experience been with helping the coaches when talking about transition and helping athletes with that?
Yeah, man. So it's been, and this is I'll say this is the newest addition to our services. We've only been doing this probably going on 3 years, but it's been awesome to, because I would venture to say the majority of coaches, they want to have an impact beyond the X's and O's, right? And they got into coaching because they want to pour in and impact young people. However, with everything they have going on, it's oftentimes difficult to see how can I fit that in, right? How can I add this additional program on top of everything else that I have to do, all my other responsibilities, and then what's the real value in it, right? So helping coaches to understand the value, and then giving them helping them to understand how they can integrate it in what they already have going on, right? So essentially, it's not necessarily a whole new program you have to adapt, but just build in time. If you're meeting with your players, if your position coaches, for example, are meeting with your players once a week, right? Sometime more than that, then once a month to dedicate 15 minutes to talk about something other than their sport, right? Things like that go a long way, right? What questions do you ask your players when they come into your office? What are red flags to look for as it relates to their mental health? So helping them to just giving them nuggets to help them understand how they can, be more impactful and be more intentional about their facilitation of the growth and development of their athletes.
I totally agree with you on that. Being in a program for the 6 years, I was in 3 different universities. Coaches do. They do care about developing players. I'll say the majority,
yeah.
Right? Sometimes players don't feel that way, but honestly, the majority do. But to your point, they got a lot to do. And now with these contracts, man, I mean, if your head coach signs a 5-year contract, that's really 2 years. Because I get that question all the time, like, what do you do when things change? I've heard coaches go to the podium and their number one focus is the off-field development of the players. Well, coach, I mean, the way it is nowadays, if you 4 and whatever or 5 and whatever, everybody ain't trying to hear that. So, so I'm glad that you all are helping those. Now, can you dive into this? Is a question, and I know this wasn't on the question list, but I've seen over the years your team grow. And if you could dive into that more, like the team, you mentioned who you have on your team a little earlier, but how that dynamic works for the team.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to think, because there's a lot of ways I could take that a lot of directions I could take it in. The first couple of years, it was just me, and then my brother joined me. He's a former college athlete, and so we were grinding for a couple of years, and then as we built out programming, my intent was never to be expert in everything, right? Like that was never the intent. And so I knew from the beginning, that it was going to take a team, right, to help carry out the vision that I really believe came from God, right, to start this organization. And so as we built out programming, as the need for programs grew, then I reached out, and some folks reached out to us, right, that are sort of subject matter experts in certain areas like financial literacy, like career readiness and things like that. And so we just look for opportunities. And still to this day, if we have a need and we don't have anybody on the team that can help to carry out that need, then we're always looking to partner with folks and bring on different team members. And so it was a slow process. I think now we might have like 18 folks on our team who support, and some are more active than others. Some are just very specific in what they do. But so, it all is about making sure that we have the right people that can, for one, that are passionate about this work, and two, can, they have a gift for communicating a message, whether it's in counseling or whether it's in standing in front of auditorium and sharing a message, and that people are able to relate and connect with them.
So we've talked about, we understand the overall aspect of, the passion, the work that you do, the calling you have on your life. And so with helping athletes transition, but I want to ask the question about, what do the services, like if I'm looking at a sheet, what services as a professional, when I'm bringing you on campus, what services do you provide?
Yeah. So on campus in person, probably about 90% of what we do are workshops. And so we have 5 pillars. And under these 5 pillars, we have probably about between 25 and 30 different workshops that we can provide. So the pillars are transition management, right? So we have a host of programs to help athletes specifically prepare for the transition into life after sports. We can do it for seniors. We can do it for freshmen. Sometimes schools will bring us in to work with a freshman bridge program so they can get this on their mind now, right? And understand that. So that's one of the pillars. The other pillar is leadership development. So we do a lot of work with captains and SAC, student athlete leaders or other affinity groups, things like that. So we have workshops we provide under leadership development. Financial literacy is another one we provide workshops under. Career readiness and health and wellness. And so we tackle mental health and social emotional health and things like that under health and wellness. So those are our 5 pillars, and under that we offer a variety of workshops.
Awesome.
And you know what, Ed, would it be possible to include the link to our we have a brochure, an electronic brochure?
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
So if you're interested, you can just click on the link in this message. So
it's gonna be in the show notes. It's there for you.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We're gonna take care of it. They gonna know about it.
Gotcha.
So looking at it, so you talk about the plethora of workshops. What does that engagement look like? So I bring you on campus. We're doing this workshop. What does it look like? The engagement, different things like that.
So I came from, prior to starting this, and even the first 4 years of starting ATS, I worked in K-12 education. And so I am huge on engagement, right? And so from the beginning, if what we do is not engaging, right, if it's not appealing to different learning styles, if we're not incorporating a diverse pedagogy, then there's a problem. So regardless of the workshop that we provide, you can expect interaction, right? Mm-hmm. You can expect opportunities to not just sit and listen to a lecture, but to be involved, to have discussions. You can expect most of our workshops, depending on the time we're allotted, you can expect activities and exercises. You can expect the use of multimedia, right? So videos and graphics and things like that to help to communicate the message. And then you can expect a presenter who, majority of our presenters, except for the mental health space, have been at least college student athletes.
Nice. And
so you can expect someone who the student athletes are able to connect with because they've been in their shoes. Right. So it's not just talking from a philosophical standpoint, but it's like, no, we've actually experienced this. Right. And so that helps with the engagement and the buy-in as well.
See, I think that's important. So like for me, I never had that experience, right? My career, high school, it was done. I realized kind of quickly, if I made some changes, what I should have done was switch the whole line. That's a whole other story. But I'm really passionate about bringing, so I know I can't provide it for athletes. So I'm always passionate about bringing somebody in who can, because I only know it for so much, right? I know the schedule. I can understand the pressure. I can understand what they're telling me, but I haven't been, in a locker room where you got 2 tests, but you got to watch film and, all that. So, I think that's very important for those and for those people who are programming to bring people in who have those experiences. Because, it's just, you've been in the shoes. So, yeah, that's very important.
And I will say this, Ed, so most of our programming, we feel like that's needed, but there are some areas, right, where it's not necessarily needed. You can be dope in the area that you focus in and still be able to communicate that, and athletes can still engage. I use our mental health, even in the financial literacy space, right? That's not one where you necessarily had to sit in their shoes. You just have to be relatable and be able to, know what you're talking about. So,
yeah, it's interesting because once again, y'all, this was not in the question, but so I kind of dealt with the transition for so long because I played football, I was a good high school player, and I walked on to U of H. It didn't work out. And like for so long, I fought that identity of just letting it go. Like, you know, 'cause I coached, but I was coaching at a high level, and the position group that I coached, I didn't play, but they were performing at a high level.
Yep.
And I finally was like, look, I just let it go. Like, it didn't happen, but to your point, I just teach them what they need to know and different things like that. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. I always give a shout out. I always gotta let people know though, because I think some people like can't get in that role, can't get intimidated. So I always say that message to them, like, look, you are where you are. Do what you got to do right now to help the athletes and get the people in there to help in whatever messaging that is. So I appreciate you sharing that. So one thing I noticed we talked about transition. You talked about freshmen and the freshman bridge programming and getting all the way back to the freshmen and helping them understand that transition is coming. We as professionals know it is, but I think it's incredible. I never thought about that till we've had conversations about it just over the years. And I'm just like, man, I never thought about that because I always thought I need to start transition truly, really beginning of once they become draft eligible. Because in football specifically, it's such a heavy pro sport. If you walk into the auditorium, the team room, you say, hey, who's going to lead? All hands are going up. So could you speak about, you know, the importance of reaching back to the freshmen and even the sophomores at every classification, why transition is important for every classification?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it really comes down to, like I mentioned earlier, the research, right? The research. We did a study with William James College, a small university out of Boston, about 3 years ago, and again, I think we surveyed close to 300 elite athletes. Elite being again professional college athletes, and we were trying to assess the transition challenges they had. And then we said, one of the questions I remember we asked during that survey is, if you go back and do anything differently, what would it be? Right. And again, one of the most popular answers was, I would have started preparing for the transition earlier. And other research shows this too. Right. So if the sooner, the better. Right. Like, obviously, if we go in to talk about to a freshman bridge program, we're going to talk about the freshman year, right? How do you get off on a good start and build that, lay that foundation? But we're going to plant those seeds now about you need to start with the end in mind, right? What can you do now? And we'll even mention this, that we'll throw that stat up there. I think it's 70-something% of NCAA student athletes admit to having struggles during, once it's over. And then we'll have a little discussion about that. And so then we'll say, okay, well, what can you start doing now as a freshman to make sure that you have a healthy identity, right? That you have a holistic understanding of who you are, that you're more than just an athlete. What can you do now to start discovering your other passions, gifts, and interests outside of your sport, so that you don't have to wait until senior year to start thinking about these things, right? And so it really comes down to just planting seeds, and we believe the earlier the better.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's needed. And you all listen to this, please listen to that message. But guess what? ATS could take care of it for you. Get them in there to get with your younger student athletes. Because it is, we say it all the time, it happens like that. And it legit, they, especially I always think the freshmen that come in to spring football early, by the time we get to fall camp, they're sophomores. You're not a freshman anymore. You've been through it,
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it is, that transition is interesting. It's interesting, too, because you kind of see them, and just my experience, the freshmen that come in early, when the new freshmen come in, they're all tight, signing day, official visits, all that. But, when they come in, it's almost like they got to get to re-know them, because now they've been in college for a semester, and they've been around older players, and while these guys have been on high school, and nothing gets to going to prom, probably trying to get a state championship in another, whatever. These guys have been on campus having to make, in a sense, young man decisions earlier than their signing class. So that has always been interesting to me when they get back together in August. They normally, probably right after fall camp, they all kind of get back into that, okay, we're one class. But
that's a dynamic I never really thought about, but that makes sense, though.
Yeah. It's very, very interesting. And I saw it literally at the University of Houston. So we had a really, really big class, and we had some of the young guys come in early, and it was just we would eat, and I was like, why don't the freshmen? Yeah. It's like they didn't even know them. So it's pretty and so what I started doing is kind of all right, fall, we got to get these guys together, And if you have we would do a big brother program. If you had it wasn't like they were like a big brother. It was more like you are the guide for your guy. Like when he gets on campus and starts classes in the summer, you've been here. He's doing 3 hours. You did 15.
Yeah.
So make sure he knows where to go, where the bookstore is, what's count up, so we can kind of get those guys to help him. So it's interesting. And I just say it came back to my mind.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting dynamic. All right, so this segment right here is the open mic. So right now I'm going to give John the opportunity to kind of speak what's on his heart, talk about, he wants to dive deeper into ATS, dive deeper into his mission, dive deeper into why he's passionate about transition. Jonathan, take it away.
And thank you. First, I'd like to thank you again, Ed, for the work you do and the impact you've been having over the years and being just a pillar right in this field. And, I've admired, before we even connected, I've been admiring your work for quite some time, and a lot of people do, man. So thank you for all you do, and for again providing this space and opportunity for so many of us to grow in this profession with the conference, and lastly for allowing us to be a partner. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it, and I'm excited to be able to support what I believe is going to be an incredible event. So.
Oh, we appreciate that. Thank you so much, man. I'm not going to get emotional on this call, but on this interview, but appreciate you so much. You've heard the Player Development Conference. We are excited. We're excited once again. ATS is a gold sponsor. It's going to be incredible. What they're providing for you all will help this experience in so many ways. So we thank them for that. Now, before we leave, so someone's listening to this and they're in the show notes, but some people listen and then go to show notes. How can people reach out? How can people bring you in? How can people get to you?
Yep. So I want to share that. I also want to talk about 2 programs that we have, 2 great opportunities. Awesome. One of us to bring us to campus for absolutely free, no cost to the university. So, but my email is jorr, JORR, at ATS Corp. That's CORP.org. So jorr at ATScorp.org, or you can also do info at ATScorp.org. I'm on social media. I am _Jonathan Orr. I am _Jonathan Orr on Twitter. And then on Instagram, it's ats.corp, ats.corp. But on both of those, I'm always sharing information about what we have going on and opportunities and things like that. Real quick, two programs that we have. So our most popular transition program is called the Next Season program. And we've been providing this since the beginning. We've probably taken it to well over 100 universities over the years. And anyway, we have an opportunity to take it to 24 universities for free this year through a partnership we have with the United States Marine Corps, a sponsorship that we've been doing with them the past couple of years. And so if you're interested in learning more about that, last year we took it to almost 30 universities.
Let's go.
Looking to take it to more this year. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you like information about that. It is absolutely 100% free. I know sometimes people are skeptical when you hear the word free, but it is. And then also a new program we just launched last week is called Double Vision for rookie professional athletes. And so we really have been working on this for probably about 8 months. And so I'm excited to finally launch it. It's called Double Vision because we really want to help rookie professional athletes to understand that, yes, you have this unique opportunity in front of you. And so that you need to be focused on to take advantage of it, to maximize the opportunity. But at the same time, you need to be thinking about after this, right? And so how do you live in both worlds? How do you prioritize now but still plan for tomorrow? And so helping them to think about, again, those areas that professional athletes oftentimes struggle in once it's over. So what can you do to put some things in place and starting now and along your journey to ensure that you don't have to be one of those statistics. So
absolutely. I appreciate you saying that. And you've been on that level. And, I've know people at the NFL level, and I've had players that have played in the NFL level. And it's something about taking care of the off the field that extends their career in a sense. Taking care and knowing what's next. I always tell people a story about we had a tight end at the University of Houston. And they moved him from, he was a big receiver. They moved him to tight end. And he was good. But, like, his junior year, he had a job. Like, he knew when he was done, he was going to go work with New York Life Company, and working insurance and things like that. And he was all conference the next year. He went for like 812 touchdowns.
Wow.
And it was just because, and I talked to him about it. He's like, Coach, I could play. I could finally play because I didn't have the weight of the future on me.
Yep.
And so he actually had opportunity to go play in the NFL. He did his best, but now he's, he was good. He had his time, he had his run, and now he's good. He's got his family. He actually owns a couple companies now. So I just, like what you said, if you're listening, if you're a director of player engagement in NFL or other sports, I know there's a lot of sports out there. I don't want to circle it in. And you have your professional sports, you have rookies, taking care of that transition will help extend their careers. So I appreciate you and Double Vision's out there. And man, I'm so thankful for just like what you're doing. I get passionate. I kind of get nerdy, or I can like fan it, about people that do the work, right? Because there's so much. These athletes, they provide so much for so many people, right? And it could be an experience, it could be memories, it could be money, financial, generational wealth, things like that. And it's just, I'm passionate about people who want to help them in their life. So once again, thank you for all the work you do at ATS. Thank you again for being a gold sponsor. So excited to have you and see you at the Player Development Conference. And hey, all the information you need is in the show notes. All the information you need is in the show notes. Y'all have a great day. Thank y'all so much for listening to the Player Development Pod.
Thank you, Ed.